Hello, K Bob family. How are you today? Hope you're having a good day and enjoying this nice weather because I sure am. Now, I'm going to warn you ahead of time. You best be sitting down for today because the subject we're going to be talking about today is would you date yourself? So, this is going to take some self reflection on your part. We're challenging you to examine yourself, to ask if you would be willing to date yourself. This is it's something you need to consider, and it's not for personal disclosure. So you need to keep all your findings to yourself. You got that, Bobby?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I got it. I got it. I didn't know you were gonna come at me so soon, but I got it.
So the question is, would you date yourself? I mean, would you look at yourself and say, there ain't no way? If that's the case, then you need to be looking at why that is. And on the other hand, you may be that person that says, sure, I'd be happy to date someone like me. I'd enjoy having somebody that enjoys life like I do and does the things and have the same interest as I do. So this is a day of self-examination as you look at yourself. And again, we're not looking for personal disclosure. Keep the results of those thoughts to yourself.
Well, hello, T-Town and all around. We're just glad to be here with you today. Yes, it's going to be thought-provoking, but we need to be able to look at ourselves and see what it is that we really bring to the table. And sometimes you may have to ask people that know you, because our friends tend to know a side of us that we may not want to admit to ourselves. But the question is, would you date you? Have you done the work that needs to be done to bring yourself forward? Because I know a lot of people that are looking for a mate or date or life partner, but I'll be thinking like, girl, no, we got to go back to the drawing board. We're not done yet. But that's the question. Would you date you? So how about it, Joseph? Would you date you?
I would date me.
Tell me why.
Yeah, I sure would. I would date me. When we look at these self-reflection exercises, which is what this is, the idea that we're trying to accomplish for any of us is for us to become the kind of partner or person that I would respect or love. In other words, is there a gap between the ideal self? I'm expecting some of these tremendous values and characteristics from somebody else. Yet on the other hand, I don't expect them on my part. Mm-hmm. And so we have to look at that and realize that we have to become the ideal self. The best, and I'll probably say this several times today, the best relationships start with liking the person in the mirror. Mm-hmm. Let me say that again. You got to be thoughtful today. The best relationships start with liking the person in the mirror. Would you date yourself?
Today I would. Now, had y'all met the earlier version of me? No, I wasn't dateable. I didn't even really. I got married at 22. I had no idea what marriage really was about, number one. Just fell into that whole thing that they sell to females. Oh, we're going to grow up and meet Prince Charming and get married and ride off and live in the house with the picket fence and blah, blah, blah. But I didn't really understand relationships. I didn't understand myself. I had a lot of insecurities. I had issues and problems, and I didn't really understand about dating and marriage. That I knew is you go and you have the ceremonies before a minister and you say these things and till death do us part. But to really understand how much of yourself you have to give in a relationship, and that you have to really be intentional, and that you have to understand that anything that does not grow together healthy, it is going to be damaged and it's going to grow apart. But those are just things that I didn't know. Now, the me that I am now, I'm still a work in progress. I'm going to be evolving until I die. But this version of myself, I really like this girl right here. I like the way she shows up. I like the work that I've done. There's still, again, more work to do, but I'm more confident in who I am. feel good about the things that I have achieved in life, and being a mom, a grandmom, a great grandmom, and now a new wife. And so I like this version of Eloise.
I like you pretty much too.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Well, thank you so much.
So when you start thinking about this, what are the ideal qualities that you are looking for in a partner, or in a dating partner? And then if you're already married, you need to be looking for asking yourself, what am I looking for? Are you looking for someone that's kind? Would you be looking for someone who is reliable?
Mhm.
Would you be looking for someone who is emotionally available? We need to cry with those who are crying and laugh with those who are laughing. And would you be looking for someone that's emotionally stable? Would you look for someone that's fun to be around? Would you say those things that you would look for in a person? Do you see those same things in you? Do you see yourself as being emotionally available and stable in that emotional sense? Are you reliable? No, but I'm just me. Well, okay, maybe you just need to go look in the mirror at you and wonder if you rated yourself on each one of those things. Uh, what would your dating profile say? Uh, do you consistently show up with these kinds of feelings that you value in somebody else?
Well, yeah, because the one thing I learned through going to school, becoming a therapist, is that, and just doing research and study, is that the child in us never dies. But as we get older, we're supposed to be able to manage the child in us. We need the child in us to live, because the child in us can be spontaneous, is curious, it wants to have fun, is risk taking, and we need to have those things in place. But also, we need the mature side of us, the older side of us, the adult side of us, to help manage that child like ability, so that we're not just still. I meet people my age today, and I'd be thinking, oh, you still like you was when we was in middle school. To me, that's kind of scary. But because where there's no growth, no change, and no progress, death is sure to come. And doesn't mean that you're casket dead, but there are plenty of people walking around here dead because they haven't learned how to be kind. They haven't learned how to be carry themselves in a respectable way. They haven't learned how to be emotionally available. I've been in a relationship before where there was either no emotion or anger. And that kind of stuff is not good, because we're filled with emotions, and they're all levels and different kinds inside of us that God gave us to be able to experience and enjoy life. But if all you know how to do is shows somebody how you feel when you're angry, that's not a healthy situation.
So as we work through this now, as you work through this, as we suggest these things for you to ask yourself and to think about, if you come up on the short end of the stick, so to speak, and you see yourself as not fitting up to some of even your own expectations of other people, then realize that is not failure. I don't know what to call it other than growth information or growth data. If you can see, well, no, I'm not, I blow up pretty easy. Okay, then recognize that as something you need to work on. And none of us are going to be perfect. There's only been one perfect person, that was Jesus Christ. Just what's something to recognize that place in your life that you see as a failure or needs to be improved, and then ask yourself, what can I do? How can I improve? Just in little steps, because none of us are perfect. We're going to keep this growing process going on, but we take it in little steps. We can't fix everything in one fell swoop of things.
Right.
It has to be a little bit at a time.
It's a process. Just like life, every day is a new gift, and we get to choose how we want to show up in the world daily. And who do I want to be today? We have a gift called choice, and I get to use my gift to see how do I want to grow up in my life. And but one of the things we have to consider is the carousel trauma, and that came from just researching myself, learning myself, and understanding that if you think about a merry-go-round or a carousel, this is the analogy the Lord gave me. The horses are pretty and the music sounds good, but at the end of the ride, you get off where you got on. And I could remember clearly taking our kids to the fair every year. And of course, that's one of the things they're going to ride is that merry-go-round. And they get on that merry-go-round, they go, and the horses are going up and down and around and around. And you wave every time they come around. Every time you're the same, they're the same, but every time they come around, you're waving at each other.
Yeah.
And then they get off right where they got on. So we sometimes get used to having a lot of movement, but we didn't make any progress because that carousel didn't go anywhere but round and around and around. Had a lot of movement, but there was no real progress made. And sometimes we can get conditioned in our life with that kind of familiarity where I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm busy. I'm doing this. I'm grinding. I'm hustling, as they say today. But you're not really making any progress. And so we don't want to confuse the two, because it does take movement to get progress, but all movement doesn't equal progress. And if you're stuck in the carousel of childhood trauma and you're just so comfortable wearing your pain like a badge and your trauma and your victimization, but you have to at some point be willing to let that go. All of us, I don't care what your race, what your culture, what your creed, what color, none of that. Everybody has been through some type of trauma or dysfunction in their life, even if it's as simple as little things we go through in school when we're children, and that used to be my friend, now they're not my friend anymore. Because sometimes we just don't have the language or the cognitive skills in elementary school to understand about socialization and friendships and connections. And we at school to learn about ABCs, 1, 2, 3, colors, and math and history and social science, all that stuff. But we don't always have what we need, the skills and tools we need to understand that betrayal or that hurt. And if that was your friend and they're not your friend anymore, how do you process that? Most times we don't process pain. Again, like I said, it took me to 2013 getting connected with a mentor who told me, if you really want to grow, you're going to have to be willing to embrace the pain that comes in your life. Quit pushing it off, quit pushing it down, quit pushing it aside. Embrace it and let it teach you the lesson it came to teach you. So then you can get to the end of it, put a period there and move on. But many of us don't deal with it. We don't heal it. We just stuff it. We deny it. Just because we deny it, that doesn't mean that it goes away. And until we can face it, embrace it and heal it, we'll never be whole. It's like walking around, you broke your leg or your arm and you're just gonna not go get medical treatment. I mean, who does that really? I don't know anybody, but we do that to our inner wounds. We don't get the help because God knows in the Black community, you was told what happened in the house stays in the house. So you don't talk about nothing outside. And you definitely didn't talk to a therapist because then you crazy. And we not crazy. So we ain't talking to, but those were not helpful things. There's so many things that happen in houses behind closed doors that need to be shouted from the rooftop because we have allowed the perpetuation of the trauma to continue because we don't want to talk about it. It's too painful. No, we got to talk about all the painful stuff so we can get it healed and get to a point where we can put a period and be able to really move on without carrying all this baggage along with us everywhere we go.
Yeah, those, especially the early caregiver relationships that any of us grew up with, and that may be if you grew up in a situation where you were in a function, I call it a functional family. In other words, people got up, went to work, held the same job, paid the bills, bought the groceries, took the kids on vacation in the summer where everybody functioned. Then you're accustomed to that. And that affects your life. And hopefully you will adapt those behaviors because you grew up in a family who functioned, and I don't have any better word for it. On the other side, if you grew up in a family that I call dysfunctional, couldn't hold down a job, always out of work, not able to pay bills, cars got repoed, da 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 da, for whatever reason, then that it tends to affect your relationships as you are. That makes you a less dateable person, because we tend to reproduce those same kinds of things. You become avoidant. You become emotionally distant because you've grown up in this dysfunctional thing. You were anxious. You were clingy. You know, on one hand, you may be jealous and deal with jealousy. But the key is to recognize these things in us. And again, that doesn't mean we're failing. It means I see this place in my life that I need to improve and change to become a more likable person, because the best relationships start with liking the person in the mirror.
Yeah, because again, I was taught love God, love people, and then love you, but that's not what the scripture says. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your might, all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Those key words, as yourself, meaning I got to love me. It's kind of like the analogy they tell you when they're going through the routine when you get on an airplane. If something happens, put the mask on yourself first. Why? Because if you're not good, how are you going to save somebody else? So we have to be able to receive the love of God, learn how to love ourselves, and then I have love to give to other people. If I'm always putting myself last, what does that say about how I really love me? Now, I don't mean that you think you're just the best thing since sliced bread. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about where you don't love you enough to sit down and do your work. Like I said, my friend Miriam told me years ago, she said, now that you're divorced, you're going to get to learn who Eloise is. And again, I popped off at her. Girl, I didn't know who I am. What you talking about? What you talking about? But she said, no. And she pointed her finger. She said, no, you don't. But you're getting ready to learn. When she said that to me, I heard more than my friend. I heard the Lord saying, sit down, little girl. I need to take you to school. And just begin to go through that whole process, because I knew at some point I wanted to be married again, but at that point, I couldn't date. Me coming out of that divorce, I was ugly with my thoughts. All men cheat. That's every man I've ever known is cheated. And all the men I know cheat. All my friends' husbands cheat. And that's where I was. And I was just a mere dog. They don't care nothing about. They don't care nothing about growing up and learn how to live their life from the upper head. They always want to leave with their lower head, meaning their penis. And I was just vomiting all that stuff everywhere. And the Lord had to sit me down and said, do not say that again. He said, every man does not cheat. And he ran off 10 couples to me. Now, he could have went further, but 10 people that I knew personally. And he said, none of these men have ever cheated on their wife or been unfaithful in any kind of way. Well, that changed my perspective, because it ain't got to be a million. The fact that it's not, these 10 haven't, said that all men don't cheat. So I had to change my language. I had to change the way I looked at life, and I had to allow the wounded person in me to get healed so I could continue to grow and not drag the baggage everywhere that I went.
Because the wounded people from this situation, from the situation of growing up in a dysfunctional family, those wounds, that chaos, we tend to, without even thinking about it, we repeat those painful patterns in our life. We have become accustomed, and that it seems so strange to say unless you sit and think about it. We become accustomed. We're actually more comfortable in this painful situation because it's what we're used to. And it's scary to us to think about having to be in a joyful relationship, a functional thing, because we don't know what that is. But we need to acknowledge that, even as Eloise said, you have to be open and say, okay, I need to change this. Maybe I need to listen. Well, I know I can take care of my life. I don't need anybody telling me what to do. All this stuff that we do, and many times it's detrimental. Many times, if we've grown up in an emotionally unstable situation, And then when we go out and we start looking for partners, we find ourselves trying to date someone who's honestly unavailable, and in a practical sense, I'm saying this time they'll choose me. I'm reaching out. These are the crazy things we do. If we grew up in a chaotic situation as a childhood, we tend to emulate that again and do that same over because we're comfortable. This is what we expect to happen. The predictability of things many times seems safer to us than the joy that may be there in something we don't know.
Yeah. And the saying goes, hurting people hurt people,
Yeah.
but healed people can help you heal. And so even though I would not sit here and tell you, because I know I'm not perfect, I live with me. But I also know that there are things that Joe brings to the table that will help heal me 100% or keep me maintaining the healing rather than to break it down after the work I've done to this point. He can help to maintain that, just being the person that he is, and hopefully he receives the same thing from me. But like he was saying earlier, and these were the words the Lord told me. He said, you have allowed yourself to become comfortable in misery.
Mm-hmm.
It was never the position I had for you, but
Yep.
you have allowed it. You have chosen it. And this is where you are. And simply it was because no matter how miserable things were, I was familiar with it. I knew what to expect.
Exactly.
I had learned how to walk on eggshells with my heels on, honey. I could make it happen. But if that wasn't the life that God had for me, but I had settled for that life because I had allowed misery to become my friend. And once I realized that was not the thing that I needed to be doing, that I had to rise up within myself and strap my boots on, put my helmet on and say, girl, come on, we gotta do something different, because there was nowhere that road could possibly lead. We were at a low point. And so to keep going down a dead end road, who does that? Where are you even going? You're really just parking in place. Again, that wasn't even movement, let alone progress. But we have to find ways to heal the inner wounds. And we get wounds as children, we get wounds as adults, but we have to find ways to get our inner wounds healed, so then we can become the type of friend that really is dateable. Because nobody wants to go on a date with somebody and all they're going to do is emotionally vomit on them. I'm not saying that you go on a date and you're not open and you disclose things. Joe and I were very upfront with each other from the beginning, and we were older, so it wasn't like we're 20 or 30 years old and we need to just take so much time building up before we can talk about things. No, from the gate, I need to know, do you believe in multiple partners? Do you believe in orgies? Do you believe in threesome? And I could keep going, but we'll keep it PG. But off the bat, I need to know that, because if that's something that you're interested in, poly, and I'm not your girl. I don't even like polyester, baby. So I sure don't want a polyamorous relationship.
Right.
So, but I know that those are things that people today are involved in, and I just needed to know. Because if you got a fantasy like that, I'm not your girl. I'm not going to be able to help you with that.
It's funny that you mentioned that,
Yes, sir.
because back in the day, we didn't have that kind of stuff going on.
Isn't that amazing?
Poly this,
Isn't that
poly,
amazing?
get 2 and 3 people and all of that, and big orgies and all of that kind of stuff. We didn't have that kind of stuff. We just had maybe some, they call it pulling trains.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We had that.
Mhm.
But guys would all get with the neighborhood girl who wanted to, do whatever she did. But we didn't have all today. You got men with men and women with women and 3 people in the bed.
All in the same
And
time.
they all agree with it, and they're okay with the behavior. We got people men looking like women and women looking like men who are bisexual, and the sexual thing has become like anything goes. Just anything goes.
Yes,
whatever makes you comfortable and makes you get off.
Yeah.
You just get off with it.
Yeah.
And that's what it seemed like it's become, because role reversals amongst women and men have changed,
Mhm.
and it's very dysfunctional.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you ask me,
Mhm.
very dysfunctional, and it's. I think kids and families are more traumatized today
Mhm.
than what they ever have been.
Yeah.
The
Oh, yeah.
discipline and the structure is not there like it was back in the day,
Mhm.
you know, and they don't want to go back to that,
Mm-mm.
you know,
But they
and
need some of it.
they need some of because
Mhm.
let me tell you, old school was good.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was good. Think
Yeah.
about it. Old school was real good in a
Mhm.
lot of ways, you know. It was very good, you know, and they don't know what old school is like.
They don't have a clue.
They don't have a clue.
Just like we were talking before the show started about the old neighborhoods.
Old
right?
neighborhoods. Yeah.
You knew people for a couple of miles
Yeah,
around,
away.
and they knew you. They knew your parents. They knew your sibling. And if you did anything out the way before you could get home, and we didn't even have
You got-
telephones like that in that day.
No, you got discipline.
They got the word to your mama, and your mama standing at the door with the strap,
Waiting on you.
and then give the person permission to strap you before you come
Oh,
home.
I got strapped.
It's
I was on
just-
my bicycle, running around the neighborhood, throwing the ball, busted out Mr. Johnson's. I didn't call it no real name,
Okay.
but Mr. Johnson's window at his house. And after he telling us don't throw around here, we
Mhm.
throw around there anyway.
Mhm.
Busted out the window. Didn't I tell y'all not to throw that ball around here?
Mhm.
Who did that? Bobby. Come here, Bobby. You go up there. Pow, 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 pow,
Yeah.
pow. Hey, Mr. Eden, how you doing? Hey, what's going on?
Mhm.
Hey, look here, little Bobby. He broke my window. I told him don't throw that ball around here, but he did it anyway
Mhm.
and busted my window. And I just want to let you. Well, did you tighten him up?
Yep.
Yeah, I got him. Well, send him on home.
Mhm.
Send him on home.
Part two.
Send him on home, and your daddy tighten you up.
Oh yeah.
And if your grandpa found out
Oh,
about
my
it, you
goodness.
might get another one. So, you know, that's the way it used to go. Everything
Yeah.
was Mr. and Mrs.
Mhm.
and Miss and Mrs. We addressed, you didn't interrupt adults when they were talking.
Mhm.
You know, it was some type of respect
Yeah.
and integrity and discipline that took place back in those days and those times.
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about even locking our doors to our
Mhm.
homes,
Right.
you know, or locking the doors to the car.
Mhm.
You just drove them, got in, and went wherever you went.
Yeah.
You sat on the front porch if you needed to.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
I even remember sleeping. My grandma had a screened-in porch. I loved going over there when the
Oh, for
weather was
sure.
good.
She leave the
Sleep out
door
on, we sleep out on that screened-in porch.
Oh, who you telling? I
Oh my
slept on the
God,
porch
that was
too.
so fun.
It was so much
Just
fun.
to be out there with a couple of cousins and my
Mhm.
grandmother out there, and you could just see
See the
everything.
stars and
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff.
It was really nice.
It was
and
really,
we don't
yeah.
have those kind of things.
Yeah. I remember my daddy leaving his windows rolled down in his Cadillac.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
everything was just cool. And hey, how you doing? Somebody walking down the street. They didn't jump in the Cadillac. They
Mm-mm.
just kept on
Yeah,
going.
because people respect it, and that's something we do need to bring now. I'm not saying everything from that era we need to bring, because
Nope.
we do need children to be seen and heard. In our day, it was you seen, you never heard, but we do need to hear our kids today.
We do need to hear them.
Mhm.
But
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, we do need to hear the youth.
yeah,
You
but
know.
we didn't. We had a level of respect. If that was your daddy's Cadillac, we wasn't gonna be messing with your daddy's Cadillac.
Because you know it was my daddy's Cadillac.
Yeah, you just one thing we knew it wasn't ours.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you don't mess with other people's stuff just out of respect. And that's something that I feel like we've lost a lot of, because the air has gotten so cloudy. We're confused on who we are.
Mhm.
I mean, we used to be clear on this is a man and this is a woman, but somehow these people have come in here with this knowledge to teach us that a man is really not a man and a woman is really not a woman. Well, and I shared this with Joe some time ago. It was a guy friend that we used to, when I was married, before we had couples. Three of the couples were married, one of them wasn't. We would just kind of go out, do stuff together, the four couples. And this one guy, he just thought he was suave and debonair. You know, he worked a good job, made good money, but he just thought he was all that and then some. And so one time he came over to my house and he was trying to talk all this stuff about how many women he got. And I just broke it down for him. And I said, you should not be doing that. When he said, what you talking about, Eloise? I said, and I just broke it down and said, how many body parts do you have? Because if you got multiples, then you can have as many women as you can satisfy at one time. But if you only have one body part, then why are you trying to be out here with all these different women? That really wasn't my place, but I don't need you coming over to my house bringing that kind of flavor and that kind of conversation, trying to get my husband to think that he need more than one woman, because that's really where the devil was trying to go. So I just had to stop him in his tracks. And when I said, well, how many body parts do you have? What? How many body parts? And I'm saying it like this because we're on the air, but I was real frank. And he's like, Cochran, you need to come get your woman. No, Cochran don't need to come get me. You the one need to get God. Because you out here with this foolishness. You're engaging with these 3 women and making them think that they're the only one. And then you with us, and you bringing this one time, you bringing the other one another time, and another. And it's just all this cloudiness that is so unnecessary, because why are you doing, if you want to do that, go over there somewhere. Don't come over here with us.
I got to drop my head on that one, because I was him at one time in life. At one time, I'm a musician. Mm-hmm. I'm on the road. I'm on tour. Sex was just like eating food. The girls were coming, and they were not, we didn't have to even ask for it. They were just giving it to us. Yeah. Just all in the lobbies, all up in the hallways, just hanging out with the musicians. Mm-hmm. And that's what took place. It got to a point sometime that I wouldn't even want to be bothered with no women. You know what I mean? Lock the door, peep out the peephole. Man, they out there in the hallway, just hanging out, wanting to be with a brother. Yeah. But when you're in that kind of industry and that kind of business, it's subject to happen. Now, today, it may be a little bit different. I don't know what they're doing out there today with all of that poly stuff and all of that freaky P. Diddy and all that going on. I'm pretty sure a lot of it's pretty crazy. But once you find yourself and you look at the man in the mirror, or the woman in the mirror now, women too, right? The woman in the mirror, and you say to yourself, this behavior has got to stop. And you stop that behavior, and you focus on you and what you can do to better you. You know what I mean? And can you date yourself?
Can you? That is,
you know what I mean? That's the question. Would you like to date yourself? Could you date you? And, you start asking yourself that question. I said to myself, no, I can't date me. I say, I can't date me. I need somebody who's going to be what I call just me, who's better than me, who's better than me, that I can learn from. Yeah. Her sweetness, her love, her caring, her things of that nature, her softness that I can learn from. See, I need somebody like that, because I'm a little kind of hardcore on the edges, and I'm just like, I'm so focused, and I have to have somebody that understands my purpose.
But you're a man.
Yeah.
So it's okay for you to bring that stand up in this. I'm making up a word. To bring what you bring to the table. You don't want to marry your twin. That's one thing I told Joe. We have a lot in common, but we're not going to be clones of each other. I'm still going to be me. He's still going to be him. So it's okay for you to be every real woman. Hello, K-Bob family. Every real woman wants a real man.
Yeah, well,
because we need things done that only real men can do.
You got one here.
So hey, one right here. And so it's okay for a man to be a man. I know we dealing with the soft women and the hard men. No, we
don't need no woman to be no man.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You know what? I think where women fail is that they're trying to be masculine and hard.
We've had to be.
And you had to be,
right,
because it hasn't been men in the household.
Right.
I understand, like it was back in the day.
Yeah.
See, women were softer, and they were in the house. And the man brought the paycheck home. And they cooked the food, and the food was on the table, and he was the dominant one in the household. Now women have had to take on masculine tendencies.
Yeah.
And they still have those hard masculine tendencies, and they don't understand what being feminine is like.
Mhm. And
Well,
I admit I'm still learning
you-
how to be less independent.
yeah, less
Right?
independent.
I've been
and-
divorced
and
since
less independent
2009. I'm learning
and,
how to
and more
just
and
here
more.
come help because I know how to do multitask. I can do several things.
But
at
you
one
know
time,
what?
but
You know
I'm
what?
learning.
You know what wins a man?
What's that, Bobby?
What wins a man is her femininity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The more feminine she is, the more that man a real man. I ain't talking about these Rudy Poops out here.
Right. You don't know where they stand.
I'm talking about a real man. He's gonna be attracted to that. He's gonna turn his head all the way around and look at her and smell her perfume, see how she carries herself.
Mhm.
Oh man, she's beautiful. She's like this. That's what a real man would do. Now she's just hard, like, hey, whoa, I'm backing off. You know, we backing off. Hey man, I like what she do. I like what she's about. But man, she's too hard. She's just hard. HARD.
Yeah.
Hard. She's like talking to another brother. You know what I mean? And you know, and I think a lot of women, some of them don't realize how hard they are.
That's
You haven't had to be hard unless you want to be that.
Well,
Now, if you want to be hard, you can still be a woman with 3 kids and have femininity.
well, you got to understand that
You can do that.
it's things you have to do because there's no man present. But at the end of the day, you still are not a man,
You are not a man,
right?
but you can still keep your femininity.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but social media and all that has
Mhm.
made you hard. You know what I mean? Not just the
You gotta be
women,
the boss.
and it's made the men soft.
Mhm.
Made the men all soft like
Again,
girls.
It's cloudy. It's cloudy.
It's cloudy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
we
so
don't have
therefore,
clarity.
you know, you got soft men and hard women. You know what I mean? Brothers don't know how to be men, you know, and then you got women don't know how to be women. And it's just like you say, cloudy.
Mhm.
It's very
We
cloudy.
got to get back to defining the roles so that with clarity, so that people really understand if I'm a woman, then I need to, what does that mean? Now, it may look a little different. It shouldn't look all that different, but it should look a little different from person to person because we still have our own unique individuality. But what is a woman? We don't have those role issues. Like we do what needs to be done.
That's it.
And we're good with that. That works for our relationship.
So if the trash need to be empty, do you just go whoever emptied the trash?
Now, Joe 9 times out of 10 is going to take the trash out.
Okay.
But am I above taking out trash? No, because I was single from 2009 till last year.
You
So
just
I've been taking
automatically-
out the trash. And that was one of the things I hated doing when I first got divorced. I hated the fact that I got to take out the daggone trash.
Yeah.
But then from 2009 to last year, I learned it ain't that big of a deal. It's just trash. It's
Yeah.
got to go out. You paying for it anyway with the city.
Mhm.
You gonna pay for it, so you may as well take it on out there and get it. No, you just learn to
Adapt.
make the adjustments, right? So now I'm having to get a different rhythm. I don't have to take out the trash. There's nothing. I don't have to cut the grass. I love cutting the grass. I don't have to cut the grass. He don't want me to cut the grass, so I'm not going to cut the grass.
Mhm.
But it's not necessarily that he just wants to cut the grass, but the grass got to be cut because we want our yard to. We're going to represent in our neighborhood and we're going to do it well. But you learn the balance and the rhythm of life, not just married life, dating life, individual life, community life, social life. You have to learn that balance and rhythm, and that starts with you learning you. What do I really like? What do I really want? What do I really need? Now, that is the main thing. What do I really need? Because I can like something and I can want something. I tease Joe about that all the time. He say, I need a kiss. And I say, you don't need it. Needs, wants. You don't need a kiss. You want a kiss. Just our little playful thing. But so, and that's how I look at it, that you have to be able to differentiate between what do we, today we need women, I believe, that when you find a woman, and this goes past dating into marriage, but it has to start in dating. When you find a woman who's being loved, y'all can love that hardness right off of us. I promise you. Because when
I don't
when-
know.
I'm telling you,
I don't know
when
that.
a man is loving a woman, and I can put my trust in this man to know that he's dependable. I can lean on him. If I'm going through something, I can open up and share it with him. The more I trust in that love that's consistent, that shell is gonna fall on.
Yeah, it's
off.
gonna fall on off of some
Yeah.
tendencies. Some things are gonna still be there. You know, if you hard, you're gonna be hard until you decide to drop that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Exactly.
Nobody can make that, make you do that.
It's a personal choice. You're
Nobody
right.
can make you change you but you.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean? You can marry a man can marry a woman, and you're gonna be who you are.
But see, that's why you need
You know?
premarital counseling,
Yeah, you do.
pre-engagement counseling, because those things can be addressed in a counseling session where maybe I wasn't even aware that I wasn't
Even-
aware I can just sit
Even
over
Bobby
in the queen
Eaton,
seat
right to
and be
this
okay.
Bobby Eaton, right to this day, I've met several women that I liked, but boy, when I got into her, she's too hard.
And she
So
may not even
She's
be
too
aware.
hard. She's too hard. I told her.
Oh.
I said, you
I
know,
was trying to help
you know what I mean?
sister,
Hey,
whoever you are.
look. I told her, I said, wait a minute. You just too hard for me. I need something softer for me.
Right.
Now, you know, you ain't gonna change for me. So, and I know this. So go ahead and do what you do. We can
Mhm.
just be friends.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna keep it on a friendship base. You are too hard for me.
And she might be okay for somebody.
She might. I
else,
said she might be
but she's
okay
just
for some,
not for
but for
you.
me,
Yeah.
I mean, I like this woman when I
Well,
first
you know what you like. See.
when I first met her. I like what I saw.
Yeah. And that's
But when I
typical
got
men,
into
right?
her
Sight
head, when I
oriented.
got into her head, I didn't like what I saw
Mhm,
because it was too hard.
mhm,
Because I like a feminine female.
mhm.
I like smell that perfume. Hey, she's soft, laughter, fun, clean, neat. You know, got herself together, got that little swag thing happening. You know, that's what I like.
That's what I married.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're a real man and you get that, then you just like, over heels. You're gonna do everything that you can for her to keep things up
Absolutely.
and keep things moving.
Absolutely.
Shoot, hey, our car gonna be always full of gas. You know what I mean? You know, you don't have to have no problems. You know,
Yeah.
And then when you're a high profile female, that's the challenge right there. High profile females is hard for them to be in relationships.
Mm.
High profile.
Yeah.
See, a man will date below himself, but most women who are up here have to have a man above them. And for the most part, because not all, but
Mhm.
most of them high profile females do not date below.
Well, and I think can be sad, right?
Well, it's not necessarily sad, it's just preference.
Yeah, but you might miss something.
Well,
I'm
okay,
talking
you're a
about-
doctor.
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, if you wasn't married to Joseph, you wouldn't date a guy working at McDonald's.
But
You know, maybe.
it's not me with the issue, it's the guy at McDonald's.
No. The guy,
No, I'm saying because I was dating a guy in the church.
yeah.
And he kept saying I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. Well, I never heard that before the first time, but the second time, the third, okay, hold up. You keep saying that. What do you mean? Well, you got all them initials before your name and after your name. I said, oh, you intimidated because they call me doctor.
But see, that's you. That's you. The majority of females who have big titles and are high profile women mainly don't date down. Now, see, a doctor up here, he'll date down with a female.
Okay.
He'll take her and see the potential in her, and she's trying to grow and come up. But professional women don't date down.
I hear what you're saying.
They
I
just
do.
don't date down.
Yeah. But
Because they put
if
in-
he has that same potential right? Because the woman got potential, the man got
That's
potential.
very rare, Eloise.
I know.
That's
but,
so rare.
But
it's-
should it be?
That's so rare. It's pitiful. I mean, I'm just speaking facts.
Yeah, but
you
should
know?
it be?
No, it shouldn't be.
If he has
But-
potential that won't expire before you can stroke him and help him reconnect to himself, maybe he's gonna end up
Most high
buying.
profile women don't want to invest like that.
And
They don't want to invest like that. They want you to have your stuff already. I've dated enough of them to see it.
I
you know,
understand.
to see it throughout different cities and different places.
Yeah,
And I'm saying, wow,
I understand.
they date only up. You know, if you working at a administrative position,
because maybe you're
at a
gonna be
company-
owning that McDonald's.
yeah, huh?
Maybe you're gonna be owning that McDonald's.
You're gonna be owning that. Say
not just working there. You're gonna be owning. it.
maybe.
Maybe.
That's a maybe.
But see, that's that
That's a-
potential.
that is a
exploration.
potential rareness.
Yeah.
That rarely ever takes place because most people who work at McDonald's never own the McDonald's.
Well,
That's
true.
such a minority. You could just, you know, they don't own no McDonald's. They just flipping burgers for a temporary
I got you.
space.
I got you.
But high profile females do not date down. They date up. They go in if they work in the office and they in the administrative and they working in the office and they've got a doctor up here that's looking at them, they gonna date that doctor.
Hmm. Now I can truly say that I wanted somebody that could bring equality to the table. You ain't got to be doctor.
You talking about yourself.
I am.
See, that's it. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I
you
don't think
know,
I'm that
you talking
rare.
about
He
you
says
talking
that
about your
I don't think
you
I'm that
are
rare.
you are that rare.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you. Thank you. Thank
You
you.
are that rare.
That's why I told her when I hadn't known her very long that you are that pearl of great price that the Bible talks about, and I'll give up everything for you. I want you. Yes. Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I
you
knew-
are rare. You're hey, Eloise. You Eloise.
Mhm.
You are
We've
rare.
known each other since 5. So
Yeah, we have since fifth grade,
No, since kindergarten.
kindergarten. Okay, yeah, since kindergarten. And
I knew this was going to be a good topic.
you know, I know you. You stayed across the block over
Yeah.
there in the old neighborhood.
Yeah.
So your upbringing is different.
Hmm. Okay.
Then your upbringing is different. Come on. Your
Yeah.
background is different.
Yeah.
Hey, we was boondock kids in the
Exactly.
boonies, you know what
no
I mean?
running water, no indoor plumbing. Yes,
Right.
sir.
No indoor-
Straight up
I knew
boondock.
families who had dirt floors.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? When I was coming up, when we was coming up,
Yeah.
they had dirt floors,
Yeah.
running the extension cord from somebody else's house
Mhm.
into their house.
Oh yeah.
So you're different.
Okay.
You're the minority. You're not the majority.
Okay.
Amen.
The majority,
Thank you, Bobby.
the majority date up, you know. So that's just factual
Okay.
facts.
Well, thanks for that education.
Mhm.
And he be telling me that, but I tell him you're just biased. You
Yeah.
got on
Okay.
rose-colored lips.
Yeah.
No, he
that's
don't.
fine.
He's telling the truth.
Okay.
You know, that's
I stand
that's
corrected.
difference. You know, just keep doing and feeling how you feel.
But-
Yeah.
You know, and living how you live.
But in all of it, and all three of us sitting here there's a characteristic here that I keep hearing being repeated that I can look in myself and say, well, you know, I'm not that person, but I can see I'd like you said, I want someone that I'm so hard and I want somebody soft that will, you know, teach me the ways of softness, that ability to look inside ourselves and say, you know, I really need to improve this. And I've seen this as one of my shortcomings and I've learned my lesson. And now let's start doing step by step in a way to work my way out of this, because the key to finding the right person is to first become the right person, someone that someone else would love. That means we look inside ourselves. And this is not new information. Lamentations 3:40 says, let us examine and probe our ways. Psalms 139:23, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxious thoughts. Romans 12:2, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is not new information. This is a new perspective on looking at so much of the wisdom that's expressed in the Bible, and we decided we have to be progressive or whatever you want to call it in this world, this cloudy world today, and it's not paying off. It's not paying off.
Right.
We're just becoming more and more and more dysfunctional, and I look at people many times and I think, my goodness sakes, how did you ever let yourself get to this point?
I think that looking at ourselves is hard. When my friend said, you're going to learn you, and I asked the Lord, what's the process for learning me? Just sitting at the table with a notebook, going down through all the things in my life to learn me. Because again, I knew I wanted to be married again, but I didn't want to bring that version of myself to a different relationship. So what do I need to bring to the table? Well, I always thought I would preach, pray, and sing. Yeah, I had good jobs, but my focus was the church. And unfortunately, the way a lot of churches are today, that meant I was going to be impoverished. And I have high taste. I'm high maintenance, but me and God, we learned how to maintain me before I ever met Joe. So if what your dating partner, then marriage partner brings to the table, if they're not bringing exponential growth to you, that's probably not the person. Because if they're not adding to you, it's a takeaway or just the status quo. And we're supposed to be continuously evolving into the next level, better version of ourselves from the moment we're here until we leave this planet. And that's not going to happen by accident. It's not going to happen just because you had a dream. Thank God for people like Martin Luther King that had a dream. Yeah. But he didn't just have a dream. He put some things in place towards bringing the dream into fruition. So you can have a dream for your life and a plan for your life and a hope, but you also have to do the work. You're not going to draw the right kind of mate if you're not willing to do the work. Do the work. I was insecure, and it's not that I know I'm not, we went to school. There's a lot of pretty girls in our classes.
Oh, it was a lot of pretty girls.
and I was homely. We were poor. My mom was raising 5 kids. And so she wasn't able to take me shopping and let me buy the clothes that some of the other girls' parents were able to buy them. But so I learned to sew and make my own stuff. Now I look back now and I think, child, what was you thinking? But it made me feel better about myself because I was doing something for myself.
But look at Eloise today.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's a whole different Eloise.
Totally.
You know what I mean? You went all past all of them, some of them girls, and went on up to the top because you believed in you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you were able to elevate.
Yeah.
And when you're able to do that, then, when people say things about us back in the past, and you say, wait a minute, I'm going to go do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day when we would skip school, it was like last 2 weeks or something.
I skipped school. I skipped 2 days my whole life and was scared to death.
Yeah, scared to death. In 72. Now, check
Booker T.
Booker T. Check this out before we get off the air. It was about 12 of us. We skipped school. So some of the guys, about 5 guys, and the rest girls, that little bougie crowd of girls. We went out to the basketball court and started shooting basketball, right? We're shooting basketball. And boom, boom, boom. We was out there and the girls, hey, so-and-so, hey. They was cheering on the guys. Some of them had boyfriends and stuff. They were cheering them on. I didn't have no girlfriend or nothing. So I was out there playing too. And the guy, he shot, I'm not calling no names, so you ain't got to hear nothing. He shot the last basket. Bloop. Game over. So we all walked back over to where the girls were. The girls started wiping some of them's foreheads with towels, and they were sitting, they were sitting between the girls' laps and stuff, and they was doing all that. And I was just standing there holding the basketball, looking at all of them, And they say, so-and-so, where you going to school? Oh, I'm going to Langston. So-and-so, where you going? I'm going to Howard. Wait, I'm going to TCC. They start saying, where you going? They say, Bobby, where you going to school? I say, I'm going to Hollywood. And they started laughing. They fell all down around me. And I was holding the ball and I was just seriously looking at them. And one of our classmates came up to me. He put his hand around my arm and he said, Bobby. He said, man, you play pretty good on that bass, man. But come on, man. You going to Hollywood, LA. You talking crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
He put that around me. I said, man, I'm going to Hollywood, man. I'm going to LA. You know what I mean? I'm a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And they started saying, Bobby. But the next time them people saw me
Okay.
was on Soul Train, running around with a bass guitar.
Okay.
On Soul Train, playing and smiling and grinning.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came back home, I flew back home, the eyes was big. Oh, man. Bobby Eaton and whoa.
Don Cornelius.
Don Cornelius. And I met Don,
Yeah.
Cornelius, because he thought I was a bad bass player.
Mm-hmm.
And
You are.
And he said, man, they say, man, you was serious, wasn't you? I said, man, I told y'all. And next time they seen me, I was with Natalie Cole, traveling around with her. And I said to myself, see, when you got dreams of becoming something in life, you got to search for the prize. You got to go up. Martin talked about the prize.
Yep.
Go for the prize.
Yeah.
Go for what I'm not just talking about music.
Right.
Anything that you're in and involved with, go for it.
Which sets the stage for next week when we're going to be talking about going in new directions. God is doing a new thing, acceleration and promotion. Are you prepared for what you see happening? So you did an excellent job of setting the stage for next week.
Well, I sure hope y'all got a cold drink to be refreshed after these thought-provoking session today where we're talking about, would you date you? If you would not date you, then do the work that it takes to be able, because otherwise it's like a magnet. You're going to draw to you the reflections of yourself. And so you want to be able to put your best foot forward and draw in that person that you really need to spend the rest of your life with.
Till next week.
Until next week, we'll hope you enjoyed it and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Well, that does it for this week's show. Thank you for tuning in to Love in Real Life. We enjoyed our time together and we hope you did too. We invite you to join us again next Tuesday at 2 for a relationship reset. Remember to like, share, follow, subscribe, and comment. Our YouTube channel is Dr. Eloise and Joseph Hill at Hill of Love, or email us at joe.lhill@gmail.com.